Coffee and health is well supported by academic research with over 20,000 peer-reviewed studies demonstrating the health benefits of coffee. 164 million Americans drink coffee daily, and no one seemed to be producing coffee with health as the primary driver. Most products have a healthier alternative, but the concept of truly healthy coffee was absent in the market.
Podcast. Tonight we're going to talk about Make Sense Common Again. I'm your host, Angela Atkins, and let's just cut through all the noise and all the narratives, and let's ask the questions most people are too afraid to ask. I know after 5 years in living what I called controlled chaos, it's time to end this nightmare. I really think many people didn't read or at least comprehend George Orwell's 1984. If you did read it, you'll know that Orwell warned about all these things that are actually happening. We're here in it. Mass surveillance, thought control, media manipulation. It's all happening. But far too many people are either asleep at the wheel or willfully ignoring the reality right in front of them. Now, I'm sure many of you are tired of this nonsense just like me. And if you still have the ability to think critically, I hope this type of material will help you help spread the word. People need to start using common sense. So let's start with the most obvious thing that I talked about. Let's do a reality check on surveillance. Now, remember, Orwell told us Big Brother would always be watching. Well, Big Brother isn't coming. He's already here. And yet, it seems like the masses embraced it willingly. We've got government and corporate surveillance. They're now ubiquitous, and we allowed it to happen. And not only that, we willingly participate in our own surveillance. We have things like facial recognition that tracks every one of our moves. Think about it. You go into the airport, and now they ask you if you want to have your picture taken. People aren't questioning it. They're walking right up and getting their picture taken. But you can opt out. They don't need that. You're, again, being controlled. So why are you allowing them to create another image of you that they're just going to use for facial recognition somewhere down the line that maybe you don't want? Well, another one of the things that happen is this data scraping. People don't even understand the concept that all of our social media is being scraped 24/7, and it's being stored somewhere on a server in Utah or wherever. And that is something that we need to be aware of. And yet, here's a comment coming in right now. Phones are the number one tool to spy on all of us. That is so true. You have your phone next to you. It's listening. It's reporting. It does all that monitoring without you even being aware of it, because we carry it everywhere they go. And that's what I was going to talk about next, was smart devices. Not just your phones, but the things we put in our homes. They listen, they monitor, they report everything. And what are these smart devices? It really stands for it's sensing, monitoring, automation, remote technology. It's all this that's connected to the Internet of Things, the IoT. And yet, people voluntarily purchase these devices and place them throughout their homes without 1 second of critical thought. Why would I want technology to spy on me? Would you willingly invite a nosy neighbor to eavesdrop on your conversation? Of course not. So why do we treat this technology differently? Where is the common sense in all of this? People went out, bought them, different models. I'm not even going to mention any names. They placed them all over their house because that would be convenient. I can just ask a question wherever I am, and this thing can respond to me. But they seem to be unaware that these items, these smart monitors, were listening to every single word that they said. So I know that there are different things around your house, even your Wi-Fi. And here's another post that somebody had commented on. The Wi-Fi in your home maps out your entire house, and the government can actually see where you are in your house at any given time. Isn't that kind of frightening that you have no privacy even in your own home? So, how did people not use their common sense when installing all these devices or allowing Wi Fi to run rampant without even considering what could be happening with your conversations or your personal information? What were you thinking? Why do you want technology to continually spy on you? It boggles my mind. Along that realm is social media. That is like a huge monster that people blindly feed. One second. People post like every single aspect of their lives. I know most of them think it's just harmless self expression, but literally they are falling into the trap of digital narcissism. The reality of it is nothing you put online ever disappears. Every post, every picture, every rant is stored somewhere, and it's ready to be used against you at any time. So I thought about this because I had started out my business using social media. But then I thought, I really don't want to put my whole life online. I don't want to post pictures of my family because I don't know who's going to see them. I don't want to post all the private things that are going on because I don't necessarily need to overshare. So I rarely engage in social media except to post my podcasts. Why? Because my common sense tells me that if I share, this is permanently stored somewhere. So I don't know how could be used against me or if it could be used against me. I don't want to take that chance. And yet I see the masses of people to continue oversharing. I mean, they post personal information. They put out opinions that could get them canceled, and I guess they don't care. I understand that. But all the meaningless daily updates, I can't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. Common sense is some things are personal, some things we keep to ourselves for a reason. Now, with the exception of posting my podcast on social media, I rarely interact with it. I personally think it's a huge time suck. I have so much more important things to do to occupy my time. But my common sense tells me if I put it online and it's available forever, there are no takebacks. Okay, so using common sense, I have to think before I post. But I still hear so many people just ramble on about everything and anything. I don't get it. Why has life devolved into digital interaction rather than real life relationships? So here's another comment. People post when they're going on vacation, so it makes it easier for the bad guys to case the house. Yeah, I would hope by now that people realize that as soon as you put it out there, there's somebody who may have nefarious ideas of what to do. You've just given them an idea of how they can get in and take all your stuff. Literally boggles my mind. Why would you do this? Sure, you would tell your neighbor maybe you're going because you want them to watch your house, tell your family so they're aware of you're gone, but tell the world? That doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. So the other aspect of social media is the divide it has caused. There is a real partisan divide. I thought social media was supposed to connect us, but instead it's created these competing, warring tribes with everybody, echoing its own narrative. I did really think that the original intent of social media was to bring a global society together. But I see more division now than I do unity. And my gut instinct tells me that's just not the right place for me. Again, do I occasionally post? Sure. when I feel I have something of value to say or to express an opinion, but it's one that I developed on my own and I'm not spouting somebody else's rhetoric. So along that line, especially with social media, there's a lot of censorship. Again, remember Orwell's thought police? You don't have to imagine them. They're here, they exist. And we've been seeing it for the last 5 years. It's been censorship at an unprecedented scale. People have been deplatformed for just posting what is truth. That doesn't seem to be something that's valued by these social media platforms. And then there are fact checkers that if you don't align with government narratives, you get fact checked and something gets slapped on your post, and all of a sudden, people can't read what you've stated, or people look at you as if there's something wrong with you. And so that's developed into a cancel culture, and that's destroyed careers and reputations of people who are well known, have had their lives demonetized. They're not making any money where they had before because they were offering truth and helping people, but they didn't follow the government narratives or whatever the narrative of the day was. And so they get deplatformed, fact checked, and completely canceled. It's just amazing to me. Yep, fact checkers are Orwell's thought police. Totally agree with you. So Orwell was right when you talk about thought control. Many people who were going along with the government narratives, remember, they're the ones who wanted to censor those who thought independently. To me, I wonder, how can you allow yourself to be manipulated without even questioning why this is being said or done? If someone is silenced, why don't you ask why? If they weren't saying something important, why go to such lengths to shut them down? So common sense says to me, if they're censoring, deplatforming, using cancel culture, all these things mean to me that these voices actually had something important to say. And when government involves themselves into the day-to-day life of the average person, there's got to be something wrong. Because in my mind and what I understand about the value and the role of the government, they were not there to dictate what we think or what we believe or how we should live. Their job is to protect our borders, maintain commerce with nations, but stay the hell out of our personal lives. And yet, they've weaseled their way into our homes, into our schools, our medical decisions, and even our faith. And then why do we let them move into our bedrooms and force their dystopian ways on society as a whole? Well, I think this comes from the boiling frog scenario. They slowly burn, invading our privacy, and we allowed it to go on because they distracted us, like, look over here while we're doing something over there. We didn't see what was really important. We were paying attention to the other thing that they were distracting us by. We don't need all these excessive laws. It's all down to the minutia. Personally, I don't need a president. I don't need a governor. I really don't even need any authority of any sort to tell me how to live my life. I'm a good person trying to live a good life. My one true authority is God. And for those who don't believe in God, then maybe you'll find yourself with less than adequate common sense because the root of your beliefs is in yourself, not in the higher power that created this world. So another avenue I thought about was the medical system. It really waged war on our health. They went out of their way to control us, and they still are. The entire medical industry is a control medium. I mean, do you see when you're watching television, every other ad is a pharmaceutical ad, and then it's followed up by a fast food ad? Does any of this exist to make us healthier? I really ask you, got to think again. Don't be driven to these things just because they're in front of our face. Think about them. I know when I see these drug commercials, and I try to avoid them at all costs, but sometimes I do see them. I wonder, have people been totally numbed by the endless drone of the commercials with all the side effects? Just they ignore these horrifying list of side effects, including death. How can you hear may cause fatal complications and still want the damn pill? I have no idea how you get to that thought. I literally think people are numb. They've heard it so many times that they don't know what to make of it other than, oh, it must be true. It must be true. I can go get this. And then the other part of that is the injectable insanity. Still don't understand this one. People lined up to take a shot after shot without once questioning what was being injected into their bodies. There was no informed consent. Very rarely, I would say. Maybe the one or two out there, maybe specific people did provide informed consent, but there was no long-term data. Most people just accepted it on blind faith. And these latest injectables, no matter what they're made to treat, include heavy metals, DNA material, and things that affect our own biology. Yet people are still lining up to take them, and they still don't know what they're injecting into themselves. I mean, almost no one, again, with a few exceptions, got true informed consent over the last 4 years of these continual shots and boosters. And these people didn't stop to think, why would I need a booster for something that's supposed to be effective? I don't understand. When did we stop questioning things? And the kicker to all this was pregnant women. I mean, in the past, pregnant women used to be afraid of eating a can of tuna because of the mercury. Now their doctors are recommending they get these injections while pregnant without regard to the effects it has on the unborn child. When did we forget that the most precious miracle is bringing new life into the world? I know when I was pregnant with my children, I gave up coffee. I wouldn't even take an aspirin. Yet today I see women smoking and drinking and taking these injectables without a second thought. Where is the common sense in that? That's a big one for me. I have to tell you that really isn't something that I can understand. But here's a comment that explains a lot of it. Same playbook for a century, fear-based control. Yes, you're absolutely right. People were fear-mongered into accepting whatever it was that they were being offered because so long it went on for so long. You're going to die. You're going to kill grandma. None of it had any factual base, and yet people listen to it without question. If you let your fear run rampant, you will be duped. If you are confident in yourself that you can make critical thinking choices, if you can use common sense to evaluate what is going on, you will not be fooled. But the fact that they used fear, it's the oldest play in the book. It has been used over and over again. Just fear them into submission, then you will be fooled. It is, to me, it's very sad. So people need to overcome their fears and face life. Stop looking for somebody else to tell you what to do, to tell you what to think, to tell you how to act. That's not the way it is. God gave us these skills. God gave us the ability to have common sense, to use critical thinking, to be able to make decisions for ourselves so we are not led down a path that can cause some sort of harm to us or to our families. It really is a shame because I think of all those people that have been injured or lost their lives because they trusted what somebody was telling them without questioning. That's the hard part for me. I really don't want to see anybody lose their lives or be seriously injured for any measure, because it's important to me that we value life again, that we go back to caring for one another, and that we help someone who maybe not be able to think for themselves for some reason. Maybe they need a little guidance, that we start having these open discussions and say, It's important for you to find out what's right for yourself and not just jump on the bandwagon because everybody else did or because you're feared into it. Fear mongering is just a control mechanism. We need to get away from it. What can I say? That's just my big pet peeve on that one. So another topic I wanted to touch on was the climate manipulation. This really is an engineered crisis. People call it climate change. Of course, the climate is changing, but no, it's not natural. It is being artificially manipulated. There's cloud seeding, geoengineering. These things aren't conspiracy theories. The U.S. Government Accountability Office, the GAO, openly admits to it. They call it weather modification, but let's call it what it really is, climate engineering. If you recall, recently it came out in the news that the USAID spent millions on cloud seedings. Now, cloud seeding can, cause rain or snow, but there were probably reasons for it and particular areas. And the GAO actually admits that they use silver iodide to manipulate the rainfall or the snowfall. And pilots have come forward with evidence of chemtrails. Again, chemtrails are not contrails. No matter how many times people try to correct me on that, chemtrails emit particles into our air. And yet, I still get people who refuse to look up in the sky and question it. Why? I just don't understand how people can see these crisscross lines in the air and say it's just normal condensation from planes. What? How can you live like this? Your air is being poisoned. So I found this video on X of a woman who confronts chemtrail pilots. Let me show you what I found.
Hi. Yes. Great. Thank you.
Good. What can I do?
Good to see you. I'm here. You're Tim, right?
No.
Oh, no.
No. I don't know a Tim.
Jody?
No, don't know. Well, I know a Jody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jody Fisher?
No, yeah, I know Jody Fisher.
You do? Okay, good.
Yeah.
And then who are you?
I'm one of the other captains.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, come on outside. Or not. Or just whatever. Are you free? No?
No, I gotta reflare.
Okay, so
stuff, but
I have paperwork for you that I want to give to you. So
Okay.
hang tight. I'll go get it. But then, we've been trying to reach Jody and you for a long time.
Okay.
And we are tired of you dumping heavy metals all over our county.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not the one to talk to about that.
No, but you are. But you're the one that's doing it. So I've been taking rain samples. I have over 20 samples. And every time you fly, we get high amounts of aluminum, barium, strontium, titanium, magnesium. So I want to know, are you aware of what you're doing? I know you think it's like to increase water supply for Turlock and Modesto, but it's not really happening.
Yeah, you can talk to them
I've tried.
about that.
I've called them, and they're not calling me back. So we're now getting really involved, and now we're going to bring something legal against your company.
Okay, well, you can talk to them about that for
I know,
sure.
but
So.
I want you to know, though, like, we are real people underneath what you're doing. You spray right over our houses. We hear you. We know you. We see you. We're watching your planes and your patterns, okay?
Yeah,
It's twice today now. You did 2 flights. 2 3-hour flights.
It's public knowledge, yeah.
It's not really, though. That's the problem. So you have not properly notified our board of supervisors about this. Hi, are you the other pilot? Yes. Hi. What's your name?
Khaled.
Khaled?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay, hi.
It's not our. We have people at home base that you can talk to about that stuff.
But they have not called back. So now we're getting to the point where we're getting our supervisors involved. So the supervisors of our county needs to be notified. They've not been notified. You've been doing this for 30 years. I know it's a long time. You guys are like, it's cool, it's easy. We're talking about all of the metals and the flares that you're using. So aluminum and zinc propel the silver iodide. You're spraying right over us all the time. And our plant life is suffering. They are now selling aluminum genetically modified seeds to grow food because our soil is so contaminated. Okay, so what you're spraying is not good for the environment. And it's not good for the people because there's an early onset dementia, there's Alzheimer's, things are starting to happen to people's health. And I really do believe there's a linkage to what we're breathing in the environment every day. And you guys spray us in November through April. It's your yearly contract. I'm aware of that too. So I just wanted to meet the pilots and say, where's Jody? I've called Jody, talked to, I think Leslie was the other one. Leslie Fisher? No, it's another Fisher.
Yeah,
Lisa?
probably his wife.
Okay,
But,
yeah.
yeah, no, that's their responsibility. That's not our responsibility.
I understand, yeah. But the money that you're receiving to do this is coming from, is it taxpayers that are paying for this?
That's not my department.
I want you to be aware. Do you have family?
Yeah, I have family.
I have family too. I have children. So we're outside and we hear your plane over us all the time. And I've been tracking this for a long time. And we have tried to get the supervisors involved, and they're clueless. They were not informed. According to the California codes and law, they should have notified our supervisors, because you're doing this to benefit TID. Okay? But it's not. It's happening over, well, it might be, but it's happening over our area. Okay? Sonora, Groveland, Coulterville. You're doing your little figure eight loops. My 20 rain samples will show you that on the days that you're spraying or releasing your flares, we have copious amounts of aluminum, magnesium. There's been some barium, strontium, but titanium's weird. Is titanium also in your flares? Okay, that's unique for me. So I want you to know that there are health impacts and impacts to the soil and the plant life and all of those things. And when you do this, my whole community is watching. We don't know what to do.
I understand your opinion.
It's not an opinion. So I will show you my samples.
I don't want to see your samples.
Why is that?
You can take those to my
But you're flying the plane. But then how do I get...
So even though the pilot is the one doing the actual work, the flying and dropping these poisons in our air, these heavy metals, doesn't want to talk about it. He wants you go to talk to the people that pay me. No, you have to take responsibility for what you're doing. This is another one of those, shrug it off, not my job. I'm not responsible for this. You are absolutely responsible. You are flying the plane that is dropping these heavy metals into the atmosphere. How is that not your responsibility? You can say no. You can take another job, but it's paying you such an incredible amount of money. You're willing to poison our air and not take responsibility for it without a second thought. Now, I know that there are other people out there screaming the same things that I am, but the truth is, too many people are complacent and lack common sense. They don't see this spraying as an issue. And again, why not? Why do you want to live in an area where your air is being poisoned, your water's being poisoned with fluoridation and chlorine and chemical spills? And yet many people are willing to drink poison. They just don't care. They turn on the tap, drink it up, and shrug, oh, well, can't do anything about it. Now, I know there are activists fighting against it, but the average person doesn't seem to care. I care. I am tired of, I filter everything knowing that they're going to be pouring poison into the tap water. I don't even let my plants have tap water. I filter everything that comes in the house. I wouldn't let an animal have regular tap water. I'd rather, and I put food and water out for animals, I'd rather them drink the rainwater that I collect and filter than let them drink tap water. And how are people not battling their local authorities, asking them to remove the fluoride and the chlorine from their water? Because it affects us. I mean, fluoride is a neurotoxin. So here's another comment come in. Most people don't believe in chemtrails. The media has told them not to believe. That again is true. They've been told by an outside force, this is nothing, look the other way. So you look over here, well, why do we do this over here? But they're not doing their research. They're not looking for what the truth is. They're just accepting blindly. That's the problem. Why aren't we asking the questions? Why aren't people exercising common sense? If you do know that it's bad for you, why do you keep allowing it? If you don't know it's bad for you, but you hear things like people are saying that this could possibly cause problems, well, why don't you go research it? Why don't you go find out? Ask somebody who's knowledgeable, not somebody who has an agenda, but somebody who cares to help other people. Because if we exercise common sense, and I literally want to scream, but I won't. How do you keep drinking poisoned water? Now, I know there's a hard time. We don't have really much choice about the air because we have to go outside, but do your best not to go out while there's chemtrails or in the area that there are chemtrails, or try to do something to mitigate it. Why don't we ask someone who is in a position to help? the local authority, if enough people got together and said, we don't want this anymore, we can pressure those people into doing the right thing. One or two people aren't going to make a difference. A community coming together will make a difference. If you know it's bad for you, why do you just accept it? Let's use common sense as a society. Let's start using our critical thinking skills, come together and say, let's make a change for the better for everyone. Okay. So one of the other things that really sets me off these days is the mask madness. It's been 5 years and people still haven't learned. 5 years later, and I still see people wearing masks. They're alone in their cars. Some people wear them under their noses like some half-hearted security blanket. But what's the point? Is it virtue signaling, or do they just feel uncomfortable now showing their faces? And if that's the case, I feel really sorry that people have been made so fearful they can't even show their faces anymore. And this is true. I've just had another comment here. Everyone just has to stand up for themselves as one big unified group. Yes, we need to come in and do it. The government works for us. We don't work for the government. And that's something I believe we all should remember. We put people in positions of quote unquote power, not to rule us, but for us to tell them how we want our lives to be led here in our own communities. That's why the federal government needs to get out of local community stuff. Let people do their own things with food, with education, with health. Let it be local. Get it out of the federal level. Put it on the local level where people can say what matters to them. And then if you live at that local level and you don't like the way they handle it, then you can, one, either move, or two, become a part of that authority. I'm trying to think of the right word because I don't like government. One of the officials that can have influence in what needs to be done. Don't just sit back and say, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. Get in there, get involved, figure it out. That's how we learn everything, by getting involved. I'm going to go back to the mask because it's one of those things that I wonder about. I hear people use the excuse, even if it's only 1% effective, it's worth it. And my response is no. Your common sense should tell you that you're cutting off your own oxygen, and that gives you a false sense of security. That's totally illogical. Again, no common sense. Because if sense were common, we'd be able to figure these things out for ourselves. But instead, we're relying on some outside source to tell us how to live our lives. This has got to stop. I am literally at the end. I keep using the word literally because words have meaning. I am actually there. I am at the end of my rope. I have no patience for anyone who comes with excuses. When someone says to me, but I have to do this, or I could fill in the blank. I could lose my job. I might catch some sort of sickness. Do some research, find out your rights, find out the truth. You're not going to catch something from somebody else. We've said it before, like when I had Matt Roski on. You don't catch something from somebody else. You don't get their things. You get yourself. It is you, your lifestyle, your food you eat, the air you breathe, the water you drink, everything you put in and on your body. That's what affects you. Some little mask, a piece of paper, or a little piece of cloth over your face is not going to save you from anything, except it's going to decrease your oxygen saturation. Don't know why you do it. Don't understand how you can still be that fear-mongered. But apparently there still are many people who are. And I think that's the big thing here. I have little ability to be fear-mongered. People will start down a path of fear-mongering and I'll say, why are they doing that? What's the reason behind that? Because it's not my go-to to get scared of these things. Too many things have happened in my life for me to just, oh my God, what about this? My reaction is, why are you saying that? What are you trying to make me think? Why are you trying to control me in this fashion? And instead of jumping right into the mix and going, oh my God, this is terrible, I think, let me go think about this before I make a decision, before I do anything. Because doing something that you don't want to do or something that is harmful to you doesn't make sense. So I'm asking people, time to wake up. And again, I don't even like that terminology, but time to start using your critical thinking skills. We need to reclaim our common sense. We need to think critically, except blindly accepting what we're told. We need to take back control of our own health, our privacy, and all parts of our lives. We need to stop complying with nonsense. And most of this has been nonsense, and people aren't willing to face that. There are distractions over here and distractions over there, and they're endless. But the truth is still out there. You just need to be willing to see it. So I ask you, wake up, start thinking for yourself. It's time to make sense common again. And as always, I want to say, I truly appreciate you taking the time to watch these podcasts. And I do ask that God bless each and every one of you and your families. But I wanted to have a little fun with this theme of make sense common again. So I created a little video for you, and I hope you enjoy it. If you have any comments, please leave them in the posts below the video repositories. I'm happy to take your emails. Love hearing from you. And again, have a great time watching this. God bless.
Sovereign Sister Podcast, Make Sense Common Again.
Back in my day, we had common sense.
Common sense is like deodorant. Those that need it most never use it.
Common sense. You keep using that phrase, I do not think it means what you think it means.
Breaking news. Common sense is now an endangered species. Stupidity has taken over the world, and unfortunately, there's no known cure.
Am I the only one who thinks that common sense out to be referred to as the sense formerly known as common?
Excuse me, your complete lack of common sense is showing.
If common sense was lard, most people wouldn't be able to grease a pan.
Common sense. So rare it's kinda like a superpower. Common sense. Now that's something I haven't heard in a very long time.
Yeah, if you could just use some common sense, that would be great.
Common sense is a flower that doesn't grow in everyone's garden.
Common sense is not the change in your pocket, people.
The face you make when no one has common sense.
Funny thing about common sense is that it's not that common.
I don't always try new ideas, but when I do, I try the ones without common sense first.
It's called common sense.